What's up guys, Nintendo fan here, and today I'll be talking about my top 10 hardest Banjo-Kazooie Jiggies. I know, it has been almost 2 years since my last top 10, but I wanted to talk about more rare games. So here we are. Before we get into the list, I have a few rules. 1. The Jiggies are based from start to finish. 2. The Jiggies I talk about are from the main levels, not the grunty switches that make the Jiggies in Gruntilda's lair. So I'm not counting the one from Freeze's Peak. So with all that, let's get into the list. Number 10 is from one of the best worlds in 3D gaming history, Freeze's Peak. So you beat Bus on a Christmas box which has Twinkies popping out of it going to a Christmas tree. While on their way, you have to kill the Twinkie munchers popping out of the holes that will eat the Twinkies. If 10 Twinkies reach the Christmas tree without getting eaten in an 80-second time limit, a button appears. Kazooie has to fire 3 eggs to an on switch. You as a player have a minute to fly and go through the star 3 times to permanently light up the tree and break the glass that the Jiggy was in. The hardest part about this Jiggy is where you have to kill the Twinkie munchers. It can get real annoying when they pop up right when the Twinkies is next to a hole. This Jiggy is so high on this list is because the first part is the only hard part. I don't have any trouble with the egg shooting and the star flying. And we have another Jiggy on Freeze's Peak for number 9. So you have to talk to Bottles and he'll teach you the Beak Bomb move. And you're using on the Slur Slush's hat where there's a red X on it. This sounds like the most simple and easiest Jiggy on this list, but trust me, it isn't. The Beak Buster move is risky because not only you lose a feather while using the attack alone, but if you miss your target and hit something else, you take damage and this can result in you dying. Sure, you can go close to them, but they throw snowballs at you. In the same world, you'll unlock the Fast Shoes or Turbo Trainers. You run to a switch to open the roof of the ziggurat-like building and race all the way to the top in a 24-second time limit. Unlike the previous 2 spots I've put on this list so far, I did indeed beat this Jiggy in my first try, but I did some shortcuts. The reason why this Jiggy was put on this list is because this list is based on you collecting the things on the way. It's possible doing that without missing your chance at getting the entrance. You have to take shortcuts. Once you're there, you swim down to collect your prize. And I like that after collecting it, the water gets drained and it's easier to do some other Jiggies in Gobi's Valley. Before we speak of this next Jiggy, let's talk about the level itself. Rusty Bucky Bay is the 8th level in the game and is based off of cargo ships near some warehouses on the bay. Unanimously, it is the worst level in the game. A good chunk of time you spend terribly swimming in the oily water. Unlike most worlds, the water takes double your air and you can't restart your bubbles if floating from the top due to the water being polluted. Now let's talk about the Jiggy. Believe me, this is not the only time we're talking about this level. The player has to go to the same hole the anchor comes out of that's trapped in Snorkel. You go through a hallway with 4 Grill Chompas on a wall. You beat Buzz on the switch that brings the anchor up, releasing Snorkel. The Jiggy is where Snorkel was at. The hardest part is the swimming controls. It is so terrible to control and master, and this Jiggy does not make sense. I get that this is a video game, but how is Snorkel still alive after swimming in that oily water, getting trapped by an anchor, and coughing at a Jiggy? When I thought of beating this Jiggy, I was like, man, this dude ain't got nothing on me, until I played him, and I was wrong. In order for you to race Boggy is that you need to turn into a walrus. Next you go to where Boggy waits. Then you race him and finally you win. Except that I forgot to mention that you have to race through the solemn gates without missing any while also having Boggy push you around and taunt you if you're slowing down. What makes this hard is the controls. Walrus Banjo can't turn enough to where he lands in the icy pool, and Boggy sometimes pushes you out of the way from the gates. It is so frustrating. Navigating the engine room. Enter the cold ventilator on the stern of the ship and bust the fan switch inside. This will slow down the fans in the engine room, allowing access to the platform with the Jiggy. To enter the engine room, look for a small door on the smokestack closest to the stern and beak barge it. Once inside, carefully navigate your way through the engine room's obstacles to reach the Jiggy. If at any point the duel loses a life, this fan switch must be activated again. Okay, the engine room is where speedrunners rage and quit because it's too stressful, and even if the fans are slowing down, you can still get hit by the fans and possibly die. Which is worse is that if you die in this game, your whole note score resets. What the balls, this Jiggy is so annoying. Mumbo turns you into Croc Banjo and you go in one of the two nostrils of the big croc. In there you see 6 notes in Mr. Ball, the greediest croc of all, and gives you these minis to play. The first one is that you have to eat more Yumblies than him. The second is that you eat more Yumblies and avoid the Grumblies. The third and final one is where you eat both Yumblies and Grumblies, whatever is on top of the screen. Mr. Violet is too fast, like too fast. When you eat less than him, or if you tie, you lose the round and he chases you, taking away 2 health points when on contact. Sure, you can avoid losing health by walking out of the arena, but you have to start from the first minigame again, even if you made it to round 3. After beating this monstrosity and collecting that Jiggy, Mr. Violet offers you his harder version of his game where you lose a round, you also lose a life. No thank you, I'm good. Now we're going to the Jiggies where I have to use cheese just for me not to die. The Infinite Air Cheat. The Deep Key is the main Jiggy in Clinker's Cavern because you raise Clinker and almost half of the world is accessible with the fish floating. So you swim to the lowest point in the level to where you see a key. You swim through a key 3 times, raising Clinker over water and the Jiggy on top. The main problem is the swimming controls. It's hard to use and it feels like Banjo-Kazooie swim faster than they need to. Also, you lose air while being underwater for a long time and risk of you dying. What adds insult to injury is that there's 8 notes and a green Jinjo. I feel guilty adding 4 Jiggies from Free CCP. It's the exact same thing as the first race, but it's more ridiculous. First, Boggy is faster. Second, you're a normal Banjo. Third, the item you need, you have to wait for the next level in order to unlock the fast shoes. And fourth, it's harder to control. Sure, this is the fastest Jiggy on this list, but it is too fast, and you can even lose health during the race when contacting the water. Even though this Jiggy is terrible, this is a walk in the park compared to the obvious number 1. What else would it be? Swim through the propellers is a unanimous number 1. Let's start after you collect the Jiggy in the engine room. There are 2 switches in the room and you need to hit both of them to stop the propellers from moving. You have 65 seconds to leave the torture, climb the ladders, run back of the ship and reach the propeller section to collect the Jiggy in the oily water. All under 65 seconds. Even with the Infinite Air Cheat, I still have problems with this Jiggy even after you collect it. The propellers start to move again and it's an instant death once touching it. Just navigating the engine room alone makes this number 1. You guys are probably wondering why Mad Monster Mansion or Click Clock Woods' Jiggies wasn't on the list. Well, Mad Monster Mansion was surprisingly easy, and while Click Clock Wood was time consuming and did have some annoying enemies, the world itself wasn't hard. In fact, I wrote this script right after I 100% Rusty Bucky Bay, and I put the script on hold and decided to play Click Clock Wood, so I want to jinx myself. That's all I gotta say for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below, tell me what is the hardest Banjo-Kazooie Jiggy and why. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. It's your boy All the Nintendo Fan, signing out.